Boom! What's going on, guys? Welcome into your energy news beat here, episode number 152 on this gorgeous Wednesday, November 4th, 2020. Day two of the U.S. election. Still not much news out there. We'll cover everything that pertains to the oil and gas industry, both domestic and abroad. As always, I am your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, the director and publisher, the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com, Stuart Turley. Yeah, how you doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and we're going to rumble.
We are having a good day. Like I said, we'll cover everything on the election as it pertains to the markets here. Couple things. We got an Alaska proposal to increase taxes. Looks like it falls short. Texas Railroad Commission stays Republican for another 2 years at least. Crude oil futures and markets just really rally. We also have crude oil inventories, which we'll cover. Natural gas markets stay flat. But first, guys, just subscribe to this YouTube channel, Oil and Gas 360 or Entercom. Do whatever makes the algorithms know much. We'd really love to figure out where you guys are finding this from. So if you want to go ahead and leave a comment, tell us where you're watching. We would really appreciate that. And for all things this show, check us out on the 360 News Desk via oilandgas360.com. If you were expecting choppy waters during the election, you were absolutely wrong because markets absolutely ripped today, really off some interesting news. So here's the latest sentiment. As you guys know, we're recording this a little before 2 o'clock right now. Time stands at about 12:54 right now. Latest news is it looks like it's probably going to sneak out for Vice President Joe Biden. He probably will become president. But what happened is the Senate looks like it's going to stay red, which means gridlock. Markets love that. A blue wave was not going to be very good for markets. And hopefully, now that we have some of this stuff resolved, markets are really expecting a stimulus bill. That's what we're seeing right now. The word on, here's the squawk on the news right now. From Managing Director, U.S. Cash Equity Trading at Barclays. I think the big news for the markets right now is there at least looks like there's preliminary not going to be a blue wave, which is generally supportive for the markets. I think that the outlook going forward for the market is going to be one more of policy and the Fed. Then it's going to be about politics, which is good for markets. So we like that when it turns to markets. I mean, we look at the top line numbers to 2.9 percentage points for the S&P. Tech stocks up 4.5 percentage points. Again, safe haven for people who thought choppy waters were ahead. You saw a lot of institutional money pour into that NASDAQ, in a lot of those tech stocks. NASDAQ, again, up huge 4.5%. And the Dow Jones was up 600 points at one point, 2.63 percentage points. Traders were trying to take in some of the fact that any, really delay in the election, finding out who was going to be, was going to delay stimulus. But Mitch McConnell came out today, he said he expects stimulus to happen before the end of the year and sooner than that. So that tells you a sign the Senate is willing to work on something regardless of what happens here in the presidential election. When we move over to the oil markets, guys, we were a 9 million barrel draw from crude oil inventories, drove markets up to $39. We were talking the beginning of this week at $34, thinking, wonder how down can we go? Well, now how far can we climb? We're almost back up to $40 here. Just an unbelievable rise. Crude oil currently trading crude oil currently trading at 39.12, $1.50, or about 3.8 percentage points. Upside back end of the curve was up 2.7 percentage points, 41.63. Natural gas stays fairly flat, basically no movement, $3.05, even about 0.8 of a tick. Back end of the curve, $3.07. That's about 0.2 of a percentage point on the downside. XOP was pretty much flat, quarter of a percentage point, 41.70 on the downside. OIH 101.61. That's about 0.75 of a percentage point. So both that E&P securities and our OIH don't fare well today, even though markets are up heavily. When we look at some of our biggest equity movers, let's go ahead and look at the downside. Penn Virginia Corporation, they're down 18 percentage points off some really tough earnings calls. Alliance Resource Partners, limited partnership, they're down 13 percentage points. Some limited partners getting screwed. Contura Energy, they're down 12.5 percentage points, $6.60. We also saw Berry Petroleum, they're down 8 percentage points. Let's see on the upside here. Blackstone Minerals never been better. They're up 3.5 percentage points. Apache up 3.6 percentage points. Mesa Royalty Trust up 4.8 percentage points. There were some movers on the upside, but a lot of that selling A lot of that stuff was going on the downside. Before we go ahead and dive into the international news desk, guys, I need to tell you that the show is powered by Data Gumbo. They are an award-winning technology that provides customers around the world with managed, provided smart contracts. Data Gumbo's smart contracts offer a new approach to commercial relationships and one that reduces friction and delivers streamlined operations, transactional certainty, and cost savings via their Gumbo net. Thank you for the support, guys. Check them out, www.datagumbo.com. Stu, what's on the international news desk?
Hey, Michael, thanks. We've got a couple big stories here. First one is out of Gazprom, out of Russia. It's kind of interesting. There is some gigantic news going on in the Arctic. Here we have my little thing here. We have the Leningrad gas field. Boy, that was my worst case of Russian you've ever heard of. They've licensed block. The current recoverable gas reserves are 1.9 trillion, Michael. 1.9 trillion. In the course of the activities, they've just now inflowed 1 million cubic meters per day in a brand new well. This flows along with, there's a good pun, flows along with our story that we ran just earlier this week about Russia pumping in big money into its nuclear icebreakers in order to keep the Arctic oil flowing. They need it for their cash flow. Cash flow is important. So when we take a look at Africa, we've got a new one here from Africa. And we're taking a look at Africa here. Under the terms, Shell announces the entry of 2 existing blocks in the South Africa. Yep. Pretty darn exciting about Shell and Africa Oil Company getting together and work on this block. What this tells you, Michael, is here's a little bit of our high-end graphics. That is going right in line with everything that we've talked about with offshore. Saudi Arabia, here we go. Look at this. Saudi Aramco was the biggest IPO ever in the world. They have 15 more that they've now got on their applications, and some of those are in the oil and gas space, and we're going to be on top of those as those IPOs come out.
Yeah, one of them the midstream, correct?
Yes. So
that'll be talk about a midstream IPO for the ages. Woo!
You are bullish on midstream. That's a heck of a midstream, but there are others in there, so we'll be on them. Thanks, Michael.
You'll be covering all of that on the international news desk. Yeah, as we move over into the markets, guys, like I said, crude oil is up today, 3.5 percentage points. Again, off the prospects of an 8 million barrel build on the crude oil inventory side. Give you guys an idea. That brings total U.S. stocks down to 484 million. Weekly production down 600,000 barrels, 10.5 million barrels total U.S. field production. Again, guys, this is taking into account some of the Hurricane Zeta stuff. So that's partly why you're seeing that 600,000 barrels be ripped off the market. As remember, this is through December or October 30th. Excuse me. So next, when we see that through November 7th here, as dropping next Wednesday, we'll see some of that production come back online. Expect to see it probably above 11.2, 11.3. It'll be interesting how much production comes back online. Hopefully we see it in that 11.3, 11.4. Refinery utilization above 75. Really like that 75% refinery utilization number. Recent gas prices, drop a little bit. They were 217 last time, 211 average gas price. I like to see that. I got like 201 when I filled up just north of Denver here. So loving those gas prices right there. You can check all of that out on our crude oil inventories dashboard via the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. Some of the oil and gas politics around the U.S. shale, I think are important to cover today, guys. If you're an Alaska fan, ballot measure 1, also known as the Fair Share Act, was calling for higher taxes on fields of 400,000 barrels a day of output and of reserves of at least 400 million barrels as of about noon today, which is November 4th. 50% of the polls have reported. 56% of the voters have rejected that. BP, ConocoPhillips, Alaska, ExxonMobil were all part of what's called this One Alaska Coalition, urging voters to reject this ballot measure, arguing that it's going to increase taxes. Stu, get this, up to 300% at $60 oil. At $60 oil, 300% increase. I love how they use that number, though, even though oil's $37. The vote yes for Alaska's Fair Share Act spearheaded the initiative, said the increase would apply only to Alaska's largest and most profitable fields. Profitable? I don't really know if Alaska oil is that profitable right now, posing no threat to new development, and would give the state more money to pay for things like education, healthcare, and capital projects. But guys, guess what? Looks like they did not like that, so that's going down about 56% to 43 over there in Alaska. Moving down to Texas, I think a lot of people expected Jim Wright, who was the Republican running for the Texas Railroad Commission, to win. He makes it official, keeping the 25-year reign for Republicans over the Railroad Commission. He defeats energy lawyer and Democrat Crystal, I can't even pronounce this, Kazastana, who was really calling for rubber stamping and eliminating a lot of the emissions permitting was going on. She raised $3.7 million, specifically $2.6 million from Mike Bloomberg. Gotta love us a Bloomberg terminal, but he was getting in on that. She conceded in a Facebook post Wednesday. Wright has really rejected a lot of the ban. A lot of this came down to flaring. He rejected a ban on flaring. He's really against a ban on flaring, which I think is where some of the other candidates were. So it's interesting to see how that flaring policy plays out. And that's really kind of the three things that we've got. It's been a light day on the EMP side. Obviously, no companies dropped earnings today. We ran a couple of them yesterday. Really, it's just kind of following this election. Again, a Biden presidency with a Republican Senate, markets like, because unfortunately that means gridlock and probably stimulus. It probably means two things. Nothing's going to happen in 4 years, and we'll get some stimulus in the short term. So that's really what markets are trading off of right now, and that's what you expect to see on that front. Natural gas, as we speak now, up to 307, up three-quarters of a percentage point. So we're seeing a little spike there. Cooler weather's coming in, tamping that down, but maybe something dropped on natural gas intelligence. Stu, we miss anything today?
Nope. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It is. So with that, guys, we're going to let you get out of here, get back to work. Thank you for checking us out here on your energy news beat via the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. We will see you guys tomorrow for another episode.